Thank you for that. So we're going to talk about marketing automation from the beginning to almost becoming an expert at the end of this. And there are many bits and pieces before you get to the part where you are ready to do marketing automation that I always discuss with our clients, and that is the data architecture. Without getting too deep into the data architecture topic, it's basically how you segment your contacts and the type of fields and data you collect on your leads. And I'll give you a simple example. 90% of companies that come and talk to us, they have first name, last name, email, maybe they have a location, perhaps they have one or two products the client is interested in, and that's great. Later, do you discover that automation allows you to do cool things around dates. It allows you to do cool things around lifetime value of a customer if you're running ecom. You can run things around also, not also geography, but tags if you're tagging people based on, I don't know, previous interaction. And also you can run automations based on their email engagement as another example. So with that being said, the more data you can collect around your leads, the more you open up opportunities for you to build more powerful automations. Okay, so that's really important. How much data you collect on your leads is going to shape the way that you do automation overall. And it's as simple as building out your custom fields. And even though I'm showing you VBOUT, this can happen in any system of your choice. But basically, first name, last name, email, date of birth, first date they started doing business with you, perhaps renewal dates, products they're interested in, age, location, gender. A lot of this data can be collected at the base level, and you can create one main centralized list with that data structure that will be always replicated and captured across the board. Okay? So I always talk about this. I wanted to put it out there that in the beginning, before even you touch automation, make sure your data architecture is intact. The second part of this first conversation is you want to make sure the systems that you're connecting with, because marketing automation doesn't stop at the system you're using like VBOUT, but you might also want to take information out and might want to sync it elsewhere, right? So with that being said, you want your data architecture to be consistent across not only your VBOUT account or your marketing automation platform of choice, but you also want it to be consistent across the other platforms like Salesforce, Soho, HubSpot. What are you collecting there? What are you collecting in VBOUT? And try to maintain that consistency. All right. Any questions on this, by the way, please drop it in the chat. I'll make sure today I have enough time to answer every single question around automation and data architecture. George, I'm not sure if you're with me there or just double
Yes,
check.
yes,
Mike, all good?
yes, all good. We're having some technical questions or
Okay, yeah,
feature
I
related.
have somebody called Noel Phillips who is zombieing the chat here. So let's kick them out of the. Uh, let's see
Yeah, I
here.
was trying to check if I was able to kick him out, but I didn't find the option.
Yeah, it happens. They Zoom bombed the conversation. I think they might gotten kicked out or they left. Okay, they're gone. All right, George, you have any questions on your end that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, and the host and panelists, Affinity Digital. Really, he's saying really interested in AI contact data for the AI tools in VBOUT, plus some more on dynamic insertion on pages and how that works with the VBOUT tracking code to pull in dynamic content for existing users. And is it only available on landing pages, or can the tracking code implement this on our own WordPress site with the code installed?
We don't currently have dynamic AI-powered fields. We've been thinking about it. That's something that's easy to implement down the road. I don't know if you know this, but we're adding enrichment into the platform with a partnership with a company where you can buy like a $20 membership there, plug it into VBOUT, and start to enrich data. So that's going to be the second, I would say, improvement to our data architecture, but then we will integrate more AI features into it. All right, but now data insertion on landing pages. I'll revisit that because I'm focused on landing pages on automation. But yeah, that's let's just focus on those guys, and any additional questions, I'll leave them to the end so I don't sidetrack people who are just here for the topic. Um,
Yeah.
all right, so in terms
Thank you.
of fields, somebody's asking how do we create fields? Basically, what you do is you just need to come in here and you go to things like fields and form, for instance. Okay, that's where it starts. And here you build your lists. For instance, you expand the default field we provide, click on any of them to add them here. So if I want to add a date of birth, I simply click it to build out this list. And if you don't see the fields that you want, because many companies come with their own custom fields, expand the create new field option. And from here, you'll see we have different types of fields, dates, phone numbers, URLs. I emphasize that, adding a date field is important. Don't add it as a text. Some people add a text field, but they want to capture dates in that one. That doesn't work well. To maintain the integrity of the field, make sure you choose the right one. Radio buttons and checkboxes, the values need to be consistent as well. So if you have a checkbox and the checkbox is, option one, option two, or let's say, USA, but on the other side, on your CRM is called United States, you might have a discrepancy in the way fields are being synced, right? So with that being said, even that small detail need to be consistent. And that's how you really build your fields and you build your list. At the same time, we call it form because it comes attached to the list. But once you're done building it, you save. No need to use the form if you don't need to. And that should be about it. Okay. So that answers that question on the data architecture, I believe. All right.
Thank you, Richard. We have a question from Manoj. He's asking, is there a video explaining creation of custom database with additional fields you mentioned?
Well, I just covered this, but George, you just look it up through our. I talk a lot about this as well in Academy. So why don't you drop Minaj the link to Academy along with the code if needed? Okay.
Sure.
Awesome.
Richard is asking, Richard Adam, will your funnel maker integrate with membership software to deliver digital products?
I mean, it's not, we don't call it a funnel maker because, I mean, I understand how some people like have funnels as like page one, page two, page three. So you can technically build this in VBOUT and much more. It just doesn't have the wizard process. We can integrate with any system that you want, and we can do it in multiple ways. And it's going to depend where you're capturing the information. Are you capturing first in VBOUT and then sending it to that platform, or is it on the platform sending it over to VBOUT? And that's what we call lead flow. It's part of the data architecture. So if you're capturing in VBOUT, what you can do is connect via API using middleware connector or the native if you'd like to build, and zap the information over, or I'm just using Zapier here as an example, and zap that details over to the system. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the functionality there could be, okay, so here's your customized link and log into the course. That could be very simple, okay? Now, if the system you're choosing or you're working with also supports webhooks, we have a very nice and very powerful webhook feature that could receive information from your third party at any given time. So that's also another option to receive information, all right? Awesome.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. All
And
right, so
Richard,
now that we've gotten the architecture in place, you've gathered the information that you need on your leads, and don't overthink it. If you feel like you just have basic details, I'd rather you start there than to overthink it and delay yourself. All right. But let's assume you've done that. Now we need to think about the type of automation that we need. And trust me, most industries share very common type of automations. For example, e-commerce, they have the 7 pillars of marketing automation commerce, marketing automation for e-commerce. So we have some templates here for you. Like this one is Facebook comment to DM automation, an awesome feature we created. WhatsApp bulk message, that's more like a broadcast. WhatsApp welcome, there is an automation. And you can filter, for example, on the left by clicking ecom to see which ones you want to begin with, okay? Now, of course, this is just the starting point. You can load the automation shell here and you have to customize it, but it is available. All right. Yes, Mark, the webhook is a URL that we will create for you. So when you generate a new webhook, we give you a custom URL, which the system you're using will be receiving and loading on their end. So every webhook will have a separate URL. All right, so here, let's say I want to create something from scratch. All I got to do at the top right corner, I hit create automation. That's where the magic begins. Now, before you start here, we want you to shortlist with your team. It could be you and you and you, or it could be you and your entire team if you're a bigger entity. What would you like to build? You need to have an objective when building a marketing automation plan before you come here and start building. Otherwise, this is useless. You're going to end up creating things you don't even need, and you're not going to know what you're doing. So at the base level, clients, and I think every business can build this, is an onboarding sequence, right? Who here thinks they could benefit from an onboarding sequence? All right, I got a few responses here. Exactly. So thank you guys for this. Yolanda and a few others. But onboarding sequence basically is when somebody buys a service from you, when someone signs up for a trial, when somebody fills out they join your course. An onboarding sequence is sending them over the course of few days. It could be a month, it can be even longer than this, content bit by bit, so you don't overwhelm them. We do this very well at VBOUT. So the moment you join, you sign up for a VBOUT account, we start sending you two things in tangent. We send you an email every day and an SMS message backed with it, given that we've captured your number and you can receive SMS, that is. And we deliver the content that we think you should be learning bit by bit to understand the platform. It's a very simple process, okay? Now, in this particular example, I want you to note how this canvas is laid out, and most automation have it. You have triggers. These are the things that begin the automation. And you also have actions. These are the things you can do once the automation is triggered. All right, very simple. These are the two things that are on the left. And you'll have delays. Delay is how long you need to wait between an action and another. All right. But the trigger is what begins the automation. Now you can see it could be based on messages, like somebody opening an email you've sent, clicking on a link somewhere, so you can have CTAs inside your emails, inside your SMS. This could be the beginning of the journey. If somebody replied to an SMS, if you're an e-commerce company and you've installed our, let's say, WooCommerce or Shopify add-on, we can also trigger completed order. These are one of the pillars of ecom. If you have contact, which most of us are working with this, we have a lot of things you can trigger this with. The most common one is joining a list, meaning they filled out a form, or they were added manually, or they were imported via an Excel file, or they were sent via an API or webhook. So it doesn't matter how they join that list, that would be the beginning of the journey. And this is where probably about 70% of our triggers reside, is people being added to a list via any of those methods. Okay, this is very important. So joined is usually what you will use. We also have contacts being updated. This one is when you're doing triggers. Let's say you're working with some team members and you're updating a status of a contact. Okay. By updating the status of the contact, you can trigger an automation. It's a very simple trigger, but it's also widely used if you have a large database with a team working on updating data there. Custom events houses additional triggers that you can leverage. We didn't want to put them all here because that will clutter the UI. But for example, when somebody has a tag attached to their profile, we use this a lot at VBOUT. When somebody confirms they want to be part of a list, that's double opt-in. When a lead status changes, if you're using lead scoring, this is huge because people start to accumulate points, and when they reach, let's say, 80 points of engagement, they could now begin or be part of a workflow of some sort. They could engage with your website. People call this, for example, web page triggers or visit automation. When somebody visits your pricing, if they were cookied and we know who they are, we can potentially send their email to the contact team or send them an email with a follow-on action. Okay. So the custom event on its own houses a lot, including a lot of e-commerce trigger, which you can see here. For example, if somebody reaches the lifetime value, we call this LTV, is 1,000. Somebody accumulated over time, they ordered 20 times, and now they cross $1,000 in lifetime spending. You can put them in the VIP and just simply add a tag to their profile as an example. All right. Again, custom events house a lot of additional triggers around the content. And you'll notice how these are actually in categories. One of them is around messages and engagement with those, e-commerce, contacts, time-based triggers. This one is the second most popular one because you can create automations based on days and time that you want. For instance, I can have something trigger once, one broadcast. I can take an entire list and push them through a whole automation. All right. So that's what you see here. So let's assume I have a list called AI Chatbot Advisors. I have 1,000 people on that list. I want to begin a sequence for those people on the 17th, and I want the sequence to send them 20 emails over the course of 2 months. That will be it. And once they're done with this sequence, basically it's going to stop. Now, because some of you might have repeat automations, they could run daily, they can run weekly, or they could run also monthly. And if you're doing monthly, that means you can actually run them every 3 months. You can see how those settings open up here. Okay. Any day of the week or on a specific day, for example, every 3 months on a Monday, which is typically, I think, is the first Monday of the month. Okay. Or the custom is the one that does that for you. This is super customizable when it comes to doing repeat automations. And many of you might be asking, when do I even need to create repeat automations? It's a great question. Let's start with the most basic one. It's anniversaries and birthday reminders. Okay. If you're a brick and mortar store, you might want to do things around people's birthday. So you tell VBOUT, in this case, I want you to run daily, okay, at 12 a.m. in the morning. And I want you to go to that list that I'm working with because I'm doing contact data. Okay. Let me see if I have something around birthday here, field values, and I think I have one with a date, calendar booking. Let's see this one. Okay, that's not it. I'm just gonna take a random one that has a date in it. So please bear with me as I find it. I think it was called. All right, that's not it. So I'm gonna do a date field, which usually you need to create that field. All right. And you will do something like this is before X days. And you see how many filters I got here. That's because that field was created as a date field. If I create it as a text field, I won't have the luxury of these options. So I'm gonna say is 7 days before that person's birthday, I want you to begin an automation and send them a happy birthday message. Okay. So I repeat, here's what I did here. I chose a list. Every day, the system is going to go inside that list with 1,000 people, is going to look at their date of birth. Here it's called first engagement, but let's assume it's date of birth. And if today's date is 7 days from that date, I will go ahead and begin the automation. All right, I know this can sound confusing, but honestly, it's all around doing filtering on your custom fields. So now you understand why I opened up with the data architecture, right? Awesome. And that's why date fields are also important. And the second most used one on the platform is definitely that. We have this one. It's called an RSS change. That works really well if you have, let's assume I want to target AI chatbot advisors, and I have a custom VBOUT blog. So every time I add a new blog post, I want to send them that new blog post inside an email. You can do this by feeding the URL here. You can tell the system run every Monday, and we automatically check the difference between last Monday and this Monday. If any new posts were updated since then, these are the only ones that will show up inside the automation. Okay, so that's just automatically sending new releases and new blog posts to your contacts. Now, of course, this works best if you're constantly pushing content to your pages, and it could be automated. Then we have API-based stuff. Now, the one that's popular is the webhook one. That ties into the initial webhook that we discussed earlier. So if you have that webhook created, you connected it to your learning platform, your academy platform, whatever it is, and you're feeding us contact, you can tell the system to begin the automation when those leads are added from that particular webhook and only from that webhook. All right. This could be a little bit advanced for some, but I just want you to understand the flexibility and the power of building an automation. This could be as simple as somebody filling out a form, getting added to a list, or using deep integration with third party. Okay. All right. Here I have my personal favorite is a newly launched one. It's called Social Media Keyword Bot. This one will only will work on its own. It cannot be paired with another trigger. And the way it works, first you need to connect your Instagram and Facebook. These are the two channels that it works on today. Okay. And we have the social media suite on VBOUT that you can connect your business accounts. So let's assume I have my Instagram page. I'm pretty active there. And I'm constantly pushing videos and reels on it. And at any given point, or I released a new video recently and I want people to comment a specific keyword so I can send them material. This material could be access, could be a free offer, could be academy, could be a gift card, doesn't matter. But this is what the trigger will listen to. We will show you all your Instagram, in this case, reels and posts, and I can choose which one it is. So let's say this one. And the second part is you can create any keyword you want. It could be a funnel, offer, class. The system doesn't care. So I do this, and I can have multiple. So I can do funnel or class. All right. I can then auto reply to the comment. That's also a nice way to get that little light on their notification box. So if they comment on that reel, any of those two keywords, we will automatically respond with any of those three replies. And the reason we do three is to avoid being spammed because usually Instagram doesn't like too much automation. So if you have a variation of auto replies, each one of them is different, you kind of navigate your way around that, okay? So basically what I'm telling them here is thank you in a different way, etc. All right? Totally optional to auto reply. I do like it, however, because it's just there. So that's pretty much it for that trigger. Many people use completely separate automations just for this, but you can see now how it's all consolidated under one hood with VBOUT. All right, we have the e-commerce one. Somebody just sent the question. We have two things, completed order, so somebody finishing an order, and also somebody abandoning a cart, that meaning they added things to the cart, they started to sign up, but they did not finish and pay. Okay, so that's a cart abandonment as well. All right, take a quick pause here to see what other questions. Let's see what we got. We have
Yes.
Mark is saying, very impressive software. Thank you, Mark. I'm studying Microsoft Azure. Is there any benefit to using Azure along with this automation system? Did they work together? I wouldn't use two different automations that focus on marketing. If you have one, is most likely you want that system to handle it. Otherwise, you're going to have fragmented analytics data. You're going to have duplicate emails going out. So I highly encourage you stick to one system to focus on the marketing side of it. Okay. Um, I can't tell you much about Microsoft Azure. I haven't used it since way too long. And I know they have some sort of an automation, but it could be a little bit of an overkill for companies, from what I heard. And we're focused strictly on marketing in our case. Okay. Now, the way we can work with some of the, because Microsoft Azure is the whole cloud infrastructure they have. So you can integrate there if you're talking about sending leads back and forth. That shouldn't be an issue. But if you're talking about the marketing drag and drop, I wouldn't use two. I would just use VBOUT. Scott is asking if we have an outgoing webhook. Yes, I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Thank you for asking that question. That's part of the actions. All right. George, these were the questions that were opened. Anything in the chat?
No, just Alice was referring to the comment to DM automation. Did I understand correct? Facebook comment as trigger is new, and is LinkedIn coming soon?
LinkedIn, they don't have an API with their DM, which is the way we integrate with Facebook and Instagram. If they do, I promise you, and that's a word from me, we will open that up very quickly because that's a channel I want to tap into. It's just they haven't been any, I would say, any exciting releases and updates from Microsoft LinkedIn side. They always kept their DM very closed. And as you can tell, now DM has turned into just like this people trying to sell you. Um, Borderline worse than email, in my opinion. But with that being said, that feature particularly will make the inbox a little bit more relevant because people are opting in through a comment, and we will build it as soon as it's available via API. All right. Yeah, the funny thing, Scott, is LinkedIn discourages automation, but LinkedIn has probably one of the top I don't want to say legit, but one of the top platforms that people automate using puppets and non-conventional ways, because every single automation on LinkedIn requires you to log in using your password, and they pretty much act and behave as they were you. So it's silly because they exist, millions of people use them, but yet they don't want to admit it.
Thank you, Richard.
Awesome. All right, so in the beginning, I want you to understand how triggers work, and you can see the wealth of triggers available. Um, it doesn't mean anything unless you need what you need. Don't get overwhelmed. If you don't need, opening and the specific date and the keyword bar, just start with one. Okay. So I'm gonna begin with the most simple one is joined a list because you need to add your contacts to a platform first. And let's assume you're bringing them to VBOUT or your marketing of choice as the beginning of the journey to educate them and eventually make them sales ready. Okay. So joining is where it begins, and now I have to decide what do I want to do next. Okay, and this is what I switch to actions on the left. Now we have two kinds of automations or two categories of automations as I call them. One of them are client facing. Let's call these external. I'm sending them an email, I'm sending them an SMS message, maybe even a WhatsApp message. I'm sending them to a third party. And you can see how I'm adding this on the side of it. Some people like to add it below. Totally up to you. And then you need to link the logic of what executes next. So I'll simply drag the arrow to the center of this next action. Click this one, drag it to the other, and that's the order of how things will be delivered. Again, similar to any platform you're using, except we might be a bit more flexible on how many things you can link and how many branches you can create. Okay. So this is category one, front facing to the client, but I can also do internal things like adding and removing tags to that lead. I can create a task and assign it to somebody on the team. I can notify the team. That could be redundant because I have a task, but maybe many of them would like to be notified. And maybe I can even update a record or add them to an additional list. Okay. So these are internal automations that do things around the lead themselves. Very basic. There's nothing crazy here. I'm sending them messages and I'm creating some data cleanup, data updates here. Now, could have just continued in one line and instead of doing this, continue from the sync to the body to the tag? Yeah, you can. There's no right or wrong way to do this. The only reason I like to separate them is it's just how my mind works because I like to branch. And in case I decide, I want to add things here, okay? And this one executes once and it ends at the add to list, then I won't have to worry about breaking things over, okay? Now, most automations don't stop at the first message, and many of you might want to send an additional message. So I'm going to drop in a delay, very important. You use delays a lot. I link it, and now I can build the second message. You can see second SMS and even the second WhatsApp message. All right. You can continue building this indefinitely for 2 months, for however you want to build it. Simple, right? Quick thumbs up if you feel this is something you can build, and if it's something that you have built actually. All right, I got a couple of yeses. Yes, thank you. Actually, I got a whole bunch of yeses here directly. So thank you for responding. But yeah, that's the most absolute basic automation that most companies can build without overthinking. And most of you have the content because it's one thing that people struggle is what kind of content do I push through these automations? Well, it's what you know, things you've created in the past. It could be a podcast like this at the end of this recording. I can make an email with a link to watch the full tutorial on this. Everybody here that's offering something have at least few videos that they could sequence through an automation. And if they don't, it's okay. You need to start somewhere, right? Work on it, record it yourself, create slides. Once you create the first slide, the rest of them are easy, and share your expertise through those slides and recordings. All right, now, of course, the system need the content for every single one of these. So even though I built the logic, it doesn't stop here. So what I need to do is, let's say I'm going to double click on email and I can go ahead and create that email. And recently in VBOUT, we added a simple email process. So you don't have to leave the screen. So I can create an email and I can call it, email one. Subject line, I can say, welcome to my business. And I can make it look like it was added from, you sent from your Gmail. This is a simple text with some basic HTML. It doesn't require you to worry about elements and full design. And you can create it very quickly through this process. So you don't have to leave the screen for the full editor. We kept the full editor, which means if you want a full-blown design like this one, you can still do it, design it with the way and look and feel that you want. And yeah, that could be another option for you. All right. The SMS and WhatsApp, honestly, these, once you've connected them, they're super simple because SMS is a very short text. There's not much here that you need to worry about. So I'll choose the number and you can see it's limited for how many characters you can put in. And don't forget to personalize. We allow you to personalize uh, pretty much every single type of message that you create on the system. Okay. So that's for SMS. Now, when it comes to your WhatsApp, WhatsApp is also possible through the system. Let me see if I can create it here. There you go. First, you need to connect the number. You need to verify those messages if they're marketing. And by the way, WhatsApp, through Meta, they charge their own pricing. So here I can insert this and even personalize the WhatsApp message. Okay. And that's the power of consolidating a marketing stack when you're doing marketing automation, because we capture all the details and we can use that details to make our messages more relevant, right? Now, somebody asked about syncing the third party. It's right here. We can send the data to a webhook of your choice, and I'll show you how detailed that is. Now, we do have native integrations, but the one that you're looking for is here. So you put in the URL that these third party are giving you, choose what you want to send them, and I can add, different things like the method of sending the data, if it's JSON or not, and if you'd like to customize the data that you're sending, we give you this code block so you can make modifications to it right from this view, okay? So it's a lot of fields, but if you have a lot of data, this might be what you're looking for. You can do your tests. So if you want to place a live test, and finally, you can get a response back from this URL that you added here, and you can update the contact directly on the system. This is probably advanced 2.0, but some companies do this. They send a webhook from us to the third-party platform. The third-party platform might send us back an updated response and update it inside your VBOUT account. Okay. Again, this is super advanced, you guys, but if somebody is having this conversation with you of how to integrate things together with automation, this is literally how it's done at the beginner level and at the advanced level. Any questions on this?
No, seems all good here.
Okay, thank you, George. Now, the delays have their own behavior too. Most people think delays is a matter of days, but you can actually control the time and the hour that the next message will get delivered. You can always throw people off by doing like an 8:13. And some people don't like to send messages on the weekend. So you can restrict the message delivery, for instance, Monday through Friday. And you can even restrict it between 8 a.m. and, I don't know, 6 p.m., let's say. Okay? If that's what you want. So what that means, if somebody ends up signing up or get added to the form at 7, they will receive the welcome message the next day. Okay? Whether this is the way you want to set it up or not, you just need to know that it is available for you. All right? Wow, that was a lot. So these are all outgoing messages, you guys. The line below are basically internal stuff. So I can update records. First, adding a tag to the profile for my own reference. The client's not going to see this, of course, but I can literally update this on the record to say whatever I want it to say. In our case, we work with tagging to specify interest, the type of clients, agency versus non-agency, and sometimes for the type of plan they signed up for. And I believe there might be one or two other things. Size, not size of the company. I'll get back to it. I think free trial or paid. So these are other flags as well. Even though they are categorized in their own lists, but having a tag allows me to, let's say, down the road at any given time, running a random automation. I want to check against this tag. It will be attached to the profile no matter where and how and when. Okay. Creating a task if you have or a CRM need or just basically you want people on the team to do things with this lead that got added. You literally have a whole feature for that, which allows you to assign this lead to somebody, maybe even put them on a specific board that you create. So every person on the team can have a different board. Okay. And you can write up some descriptions around that lead, including their personal details. A lot of customization you can do here, guys. But one scenario you can think about is somebody filling out a form. You want to check, for instance, one of the answers from the fields you have, perhaps product they're interested in, perhaps location. And based on that, you can assign it to, John on the sales team or Michelle on the sales team. So that kind of assignment is possible by following this kind of logic. So that's it. Everything else you need to configure, just know you can double click and you can customize the details of those actions. All right. Super simple. So a couple of terminologies that we use, we might say this is branching out from the joined. So I branched out to the top. The leads took two routes, the top and the bottom. Okay, by going through the top route, they're just going to execute those messages. They're going to wait on the delay until they're ready for the second. And they've also branched out below for all these additional things. But at any given time, I can also add more branches. So for instance, at the end of the sequence, and by the way, I can zoom out if I want to have like more canvas and control it that way. So from here, I can branch out and add two delays. Okay. And now I can deliver two more messages, but that probably will work if I want to create filters of when to deliver each one of the top messages. So I can deliver the top message based on, you might have guessed it, filters. So this is where the filters come into play. Filters happen on the arrow. So you see how things are connected with an arrow. That arrow doesn't only dictate the order of things, but it could also have its own filters. So you can specify who goes next. So if I double click on the arrow here, I can add any of the dozens and dozens of conditions I have on the system. And if you're a marketing and data lover, you understand how valuable these filters are. So let's say I want to target my advisors here based on number of employees that have 51 people and those who have, I don't know, more than 100, for example. Okay. I can also do it based on engaging with the fields. If somebody, instead of field values, I can say if they did open a previous email I sent them, okay, this one, I want to send them an email, but if they did not open that email, I want to send them in a different route. So I can take them that route. Okay, so that's probably a common condition that people use and super easy to set up. Awesome. So there you go, guys. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but honestly, once you get the gist of it, it's not complicated. Anybody here, I guarantee you, you can build something very similar. And if you don't need SMS, no problem. You don't need WhatsApp. It doesn't have to exist. You don't have needs to synchronize with anything. Let's remove that. Let's stick to email if that's the channel of your choice. Okay. I'm only showing you the ability to build multi-channel campaigns so you can communicate with customers, not only via email, but any channel you can reach them on, basically. All right. I'm going to delete that. Now, a couple of housekeeping items that you might need to know. If you have an automation that's running and you have people somewhere here, anytime you make edits to an automation, it might break the flow and people might be pretty much removed. So if I have somebody here and I added a logic in the beginning, obviously that's not going to apply. If I have somebody waiting one day to get this email and I added something to the end of automation, that usually is fine because they haven't gotten to that stage yet. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to remove something and then add a different one thinking things are going to continue. Because as you can see, all the IDs and the logic is going to be thrown off. Every action, everything you put on the screen has a dedicated unique ID that dictates how things flow. Okay. So that's that's quick pause here for anybody who has a question.
We have a question in the Q&A. Mark, in terms of background, how long did it take to build the platform, and where do you see your platform, AI, and marketing industry in 5 years? This software is very modern already, but where do you see your company or changes or innovations, if any, to this automation AI industry down the road?
Yeah, great question. It took 10 years to get to this point, Mark. So this is really a lot of technology and millions of lines of codes, basically. All I can say is this. Now, in terms of changes, the thing about AI is reshaping a lot of things, but it's not changing the way you drive a car or you watch TV or you send out a message and you communicate with people. Well, communicate with people maybe, but the foundation is still there. The need for an automation platform is going to be the same now and 10 years in the future. Okay, what I mean by automation, talking about marketing to be specific. So you need to have a program that create those things for you. Now, what AI can facilitate is probably you might type in here, I want to create, um, I have this automation in mind, or I'm this in the industry. I want you to create an automation for me. AI can be great at this. And the way AI will work is going to understand, all the different scenarios and how people build them, industries, learn from all of these, take from templates and parse it for you so you don't have to worry about how you're going to build the logic in the backend. And then you go inside each message and then you can configure each message using AI, which is something, by the way, that we're already doing. So if I dropped in an action, I want to send an email. You will notice, I think we have it under maybe it's not on this view, but we have it with the advanced editor. You can write a copy using ChatGPT and bring it directly into your template. Okay. So instead of having to do those couple of extra clicks, it can pre-populate this for you based on your description. So that's how I foresee AI changing this particular feature. You're still gonna need it. You still have to have systems talking to each other. But the speed of getting where you are today to the end result will become dramatically faster. Just like when you are doing some sort of a research and you used to do it on Google, you used to search for 5, 6 things. You got to go to the website, you got to read it, exit, go to second source. And that might take you about 10, 15 minutes of research. Now you can just talk to one thread on one of your favorites, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and you can get the answers sequentially with something understanding the full context. So instead of 15 minutes, it takes you 1 minute to get to the end result. That's exactly what's happening here in the marketing world. Okay. Um, Hopefully that answers the question. All right. Cool. So let's build a few here. I'm gonna show you real quick, actually, e-commerce. If you want to, anybody here have, they can drop an industry, and I can maybe share with you the top automations that they use because we've built so many of these over the years. Awesome. So we got Scott. Scott asked about software. So if you have a software company and you want to build something, here are, I would say, 5 automations that you can build right away. Okay, let's start with the first one, which you might guess it, onboarding. When you have a software and people signing up to the software, you have a join. People can be joining via an API, via a Zap, it doesn't matter. And the first message is, thank you for signing up to the platform, a letter from the CEO. You're going to add a delay. That delay could be a few minutes. And you can send them the first resource as a second. And now I can just drop this in here, add a delay, and day number two, sending them the second resource, teaching them something else. Okay. That we call onboarding, and I'm going to drop in a note just so we can look at it when I'm done with this. So this is onboarding sequence. And by the way, notes don't do anything. They're just sit there so you know what this thing is doing. Okay. And I'll just link it here too. There we go. I think I should do. All right. The second one is going to be renewal when an expiry date is upcoming. Okay. Usually trial renewals, and that's going to revolve around a date that you need to send to the system. You can do it every day as a data sync. Um, Manually exporting, importing is not going to be the best way to do it. That's a lot of work. But if you figure out a way to sync the database to the system, including a field called expiry date, you can easily create another one. Okay. Uh, that's going to be date-based trigger. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to choose the list of the customers. I'm going to run it daily. Okay. And then I go to target segment, and I showed you, I think, something similar before. Let's take this date field as an example. Now, how many days before the expiry date do you want to send them an email? Maybe before 3 days before the trial ends, right? That's a common date. And now I can send them a message telling them, hey, your trial period is about to expire. Please make sure you update your billing and so on. But you can also create a task for one of your team members to potentially follow up with that person and give them a call. Okay. So that's the second one. Now there's one that could be when somebody actually misses the dates of the payment, and that could continue from here through a flag. So what I'll do is I'll add a preventative one. If somebody have a field on the system that is paid, so contact updated, I'll listen to the field value. You need to create a field called paid or customer or whatever. So let's say here, I'm just trying to find one. If the technology changes, then what I can do is I can attach a tag to the profile. Okay, add tag. So now I added a tag to the profile when a specific field changed. That's another example. Okay. You can have an anniversary of when they first signed up to your platform. Usually that could come in two ways. The date they were added to the system to begin with, or you can have a date, which is the first date of service. If you collect that information, you can do the same exact thing we did in a specific date, except you choose the date and you say 6 months in the future. So every 6 months, you might send them a reminder saying, hey, it's been 6 months you've been with us. We want to thank you. Or if it's been a year, you can send them also a yearly reminder. So let me zoom out real quick. So that one is also specific date trigger, and it's the yearly anniversary, let's say. And I'll note them for you. So what we call this one is trial expiry. And this one is tagging for updating tagging customers who tagging paying clients. And finally, we have the last one, which is the yearly anniversary. All right, there you go. I can go on and on here, right, to upsell people. So if I want to do some upselling, I can start with the joined and continue, or I can have a completely different one. So from the moment somebody joined to your platform, I can send them maybe a month later an upsell only if they paid. So the way I do this is when a tag of, they became paid clients get added, So that's what we will use, custom event trigger. The tag is paid. So I have one here, as you can see. I can wait for a month or two, depending when you want to drop that upsell. And then from here, you can send them the upsell offer. And by the way, even though I'm doing email only, you can add SMS any given time. So this one could be the upsell email. All right. There you go, guys. I mean, I know I have experience in this and I've built probably tens of thousands of automations in my lifetime. But do you think this is complicated stuff, or do you feel confident you can go tomorrow, put at least two or three automations together, plan them in your head or on a piece of paper, and come and implement them here? Who think can do this? All right, so we got a few. Thank you for your responses, you guys. I really appreciate it. Um, so let's see who we have. Yolanda, thank you as well. Scott, thank you. Yes, straightforward. Scott asked if we have multiple unrelated automations inside the same canvas. Thank you for asking this question. You absolutely can inside VBOUT. It's a flexible thing to do. Now, this is a canvas. Each one of these is an automation with a trigger, and they're not necessarily related to each other, and that could execute just fine. Now, what things start to happen or problems start to happen if you need to push people from one automation to another, or for all of a sudden you say, you know what, I want to turn this one off because I don't want to continue sending this, but I want to keep the rest going. Okay, I want to pause this until I make future edits. That's not going to be possible. You need to come here and move everything around. That's why I like to separate them with their own names. Naming is very important. But if you feel like you've convinced those five can work together and you're 100% sure, you can build them that way as well. Okay, cool. Perfect. So, George, I think I've gotten most of the questions so far, right?
Yes, Richard, exactly.
All right. So we had Sihan said online course provider and consultant. Yes. So from here, I can tell you immediately you can adopt the welcome onboarding sequence. Okay. You certainly need to leverage the keyword bot, Sihan, keyword bot with Facebook and Instagram, so you can post 1 minute videos and tell people to get access to the course. Just comment the word course on my content. That's really powerful. It drives engagement to your reels. And when people start to comment, it gets suggested to more people so that social effects start to benefit you. And it gets suggested to more and more. With that being said, definitely use the keyword bot. Super easy. And I probably will finish by showing you how you can build it. Um, so I'm gonna just delete all of this and show you how it works. So the keyword bot works like this. I think I discussed this briefly. Sorry, I have one more. There you go. All right, so the keyword bot, just drop the trigger first. So that's where it begins. Then configure the trigger by choosing your account. Let's say any of my reels on Instagram or a specific reel or the next one I'm going to launch. I'll choose one. I'll put a keyword that says course, comma. Up to you if you want to leave comments or not. I do suggest it. And then on the actions, what you can do here is you can send the first DM. And it's really important to do this and understand how DMs work. You can send a DM request to somebody and you have to wait until they respond. So if you add a second, it will not get delivered until that person responds to your first DM. What that means is your first DM need to be something that engages or asks for a response. Okay. Now, some people say, you know what? I'm going to do a form. Beauty of using VBOUT is you can have your integrated forms right in here. Okay. This is a very large list. I'm going to choose something basic. This one. You can tell people in the DM something like this. Thank you for your interest in the course. Please share your email and I will send you the link, the sign up details, sign up credentials. Okay. Very basic. So now that I've done that, confirmation, once they fill out the form or give you the email, thank you. Please check your inbox. And that's it. So that's the first message. If they don't respond to this, it ends here. There's nothing you can do. But if they do give you the email, you can wait a minute and add a delay, but you can also send it right away within like a few seconds. And I can send them like a little media message. I can attach an image or an audio or video. I've done this. I have like a little 1 minute recording saying thank you so much and choose the stuff that you want to attach and send them the second one. And then the third one could be a simple CTA directly. We call these buttons or cards. Okay. A card has a title, subtitle, and I think up to 3 buttons. Yes, up to 3 buttons. That's it. That's all you have to do. 3 DMs back to back. Within 24 hours is your window to send those follow-on messages from the moment they respond. And after 24 hours, you cannot send any additional unless they continue the conversation with you. But at this point, hopefully you've gotten the email, right? And that's what you need. And you can start another automation altogether, which you might have guessed it, that says if somebody joins that list you captured from Instagram, let's go ahead and send them all the sequences of emails. Let's send them to his third party of choice, tag them, assign them to his sales team, etc., etc. All right. Whew. Perfect. So you guys, automations are a lot to cover. Okay, I can honestly go on for 5, 6 hours talking about all the types of automations you can build, but at the absolute base level, understanding the components, which are triggers, actions, and delays, filters, what's available to you, having the proper data architecture, it really changes the way that you run automations. Now, at VBOUT, we help you along the way, so you're not alone. We have training, you have the support team, you have this awesome software at your disposal. So if you need it, George will be dropping in the demo link so you can speak to one of our reps and understand if we're a good fit and how we can help you with your marketing automation journey. So with that, I'll take any final questions before we wrap up for today. All right. And again, gentlemen, really sorry about our guests. Unfortunately, I think they got the time zone wrong, but it's okay. We'll have another awesome session next month. Don't forget to join our partners meeting for any upcoming releases we have at the end of this month. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group, so you can get notified at your own, I would say, convenience, we'd love to have you in our community. George, thank you so much for your help. And everybody who spent the last hour with us, thank you too. It means the world to us. So thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of the week.